Hello and welcome to This Week with Gaming. We're going to start off with some Borderlands news. One's positive, one's negative. We'll go with positive first. The positive is that 2K, the makers of Borderlands, have released a free patch which makes the games up to 4K resolution now. The not so good news is that Borderlands 3, the one that's releasing in October, is exclusive to the Epic Games Store for 6 months, I believe. And because of that, a lot of Steam users have been review bombing the games, or the previous ones, but Valve, as they introduce a new filter thing to kind of try and remove the review bombings, it's gotten rid of 4,000 off-topic reviews, which I suppose you could say is good, because the consumers aren't getting misled about how good or bad the games are, but the people that don't like it are still getting their voices out there because the comments are left. It's just they're kind of taking off the percentage review score of like overwhelmingly good, very good, and all that. Next up, we have a short, cool kind of news bit about a guy called Collin Furze, who's a YouTuber as well, I believe. I'll show pictures on the screen and try and link him or whatever, if I can, in the description. He's basically just been making some really cool weapons from Sekiro and Bloodborne, I believe. They'll be on the screen so you can see for yourself how cool they are, and yeah. Speaking of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, a speedrunner, namely Dan Flesh 1110111, has managed to beat it in less than an hour, which is it's pretty impressive considering most people spend more time dying than he's spent actually completing the whole game. Well, not the whole game, completing all the bosses. But still, that's pretty impressive. Next up, we have some news on a hacker called Zamis Clark. In 2017, he hacked basically Microsoft, stealing usernames and passwords of a ton of people, which cost Microsoft about $2 million worth of damages. And then less than a year later, in 2018, he did the same thing to Nintendo, stealing 2,300 usernames and passwords, costing Nintendo between $1 million and $1.8 million of damages. He's now in jail again, as you probably expect, as he did them like less than a year apart. He was put in prison for it as well, so he hacked Nintendo when he was on his bail. It took him about 3 months to realize that he's done it, which is probably why it cost him so much in damages, really. I assume you've heard of the somewhat popular TV series named Game of Thrones the books that it's based off were written by George R.R. Martin. Well, anyway, he's in talks with From Software, the developers of Dark Souls and Sekiro and all that, to possibly make a new game, which would be quite interesting, like a Dark Souls difficulty Game of Thrones game, where George R.R. Martin loves killing off characters, so it's not like death would be like the difficulty would be taken down at all. It might even be that you play a different character every time you die, and then that's how the characters get killed off in the game. Are you tired of hearing about Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn? Well, how about you hear about Cthulhu instead, as you can do with this Chrome extension that an indie developer's made, where basically, if there's a politician's name, it'll replace it with a Lovecraftian elder god's name, which it might be a bit weird, but why not hear about how Cthulhu's ruining Brexit? And last but not least, Bethesda's messed up again with Fallout 76, but this time they've broken a promise. The promise was to have cosmetic-only things in Fallout 76's Atom Shop, which is basically where you pay real money for stuff in a game. They're saying it's only going to be visual stuff, nothing to do with the gameplay, but now they've added something to do with the gameplay, because why not? They've already ruined the game at this point. So basically, they've got things called repair kits that, instead of having to get materials and go back to your base to repair your items once they're broken, all you have to do is pay some money, and then you can repair it on the spot, no materials, and it's instant. It's just kind of removing part of the point of the game, and it's a very slippery slope if they've done everything else they've done, and now this as well. It's very likely that they'll add more pay-to-win things in at some point, if not now. It's not the most positive thing to finish the video on, but I don't have any more news that I could find at least. So I'll see you in the next video, I guess. Goodbye.